Hello, welcome once again to Leto's Law. I'm Steve Leto. A lot of people sent me the story to Macomb County, Michigan. I thank you all. One of the most requested things I've gotten in quite a while. And it just popped up in the last few days. But a man's been jailed for criticizing the Macomb County court system. So, in case you're curious, the southeast corner of Michigan is often called the Tri-County area, anchored by Detroit in Wayne County. Just north, that's Macomb County. And next to that is Oakland County, the Tri-County area. And in case you're curious, Mad Anthony Wayne, they named Wayne County after. He's a general who had the word mad inserted in front of his name for a good reason. And Macomb County, of course, is named after Alexander Macomb, another military guy. And then, of course, Oakland County named after Sylvester Oakland. No, I'm just kidding. We like our trees in Oakland County, so we couldn't come up with a cool name beyond that, Oakland. But Macomb County, grieving dad jailed for repeatedly criticizing the court system in Macomb County. I'm here to tell you, if it was against the law to criticize the courts in Macomb County, we'd all be in jail. But I digress. This is from WXYZ, which is a TV station here in Detroit. A man lost a custody battle, and then his son died. So the man blames the court system. He voiced his strong opinions on social media, and the next thing he knew, he was locked in jail. It's a little complicated, but we'll try to follow it through. Deborah Vanderhagen, speaking of her grandson, said he was so full of life, I am trying not to cry, while being interviewed about this whole chain of events that led to this. On September 22nd, it will be the 2-year anniversary of the day Deborah Vanderhagen's grandson, Killian, lost his life. Now, she believes her son, Jonathan Vanderhagen, is justified in feeling that the court in Macomb County cost her grandson his life. He died in the custody of his mother after her son asked for sole custody. And Deborah Vanderhagen says, his lawyer said to the court, something is going to happen to this child. You need to get him away from the mother. There are too many red flags, and the judge said, oh, that is in the past. That's, again, the mother speaking, the grandmother speaking, or the mother of the man in question that we're getting to. So there was a police report filed after 2-year-old Killian died, and it shows he had a previous medical condition, and investigators did not believe there was evidence that Killian's mother was responsible. But his father felt otherwise. Understandably, right? So he repeatedly posted criticism of the judge who presided over his case, and also criticism of the friend of the court on his Facebook page. Now, the judge, Rachel Rancilio, saw the posts, many of which publicly targeted her. Okay, so I have not seen all the posts. I don't even know if they're still up or not. But apparently, these posts did make it clear that he was talking about her. She apparently felt uncomfortable by the posts and said that she actually felt possibly threatened. Now, again, possibly threatened is language from the WXYZ article. I do not know if that's how she phrased it. As a judge, I can imagine she phrased it better. But they're careful to point out that she did not hear the custody hearing. That was not in front of her. That was handled by a court referee. But of course, she presided over the entire case. The Macomb County Sheriff's Office responded to the initial round of criticisms and found that he had criticized what Judge Rachel Rancilio pinned on Pinterest as, in his opinion, inappropriate. Posted videos saying he feels she and others responsible for Killian's death and blamed the court system for his loss. So it's unclear exactly the nature of this. But the investigative report also says at no time did he threaten harm or violence. That's clear, okay? The investigative report says at no time did he threaten harm or violence. He criticized the judge and said he blamed her for Killian's death. He was then charged with malicious use of telecommunications services and released on bond. So again, he makes a bunch of posts. He's critical of the judge. He's critical of the court system. And obviously, he's a grieving father. And because of that, the judge reports him to the sheriff. When the sheriff gets a report from a judge, they take it more seriously than they get a report from you or me. And they decided to have him charged with malicious use of telecommunications services. So they charged him with that. And then they released him on bond. Now, remember that the Constitution says if you're charged with a crime that's a jailable offense, they can hold you until time of your trial. But if they can't try you like forthwith, they need to post or allow you to post a reasonable bond. And the question becomes, what's reasonable? So, as you can imagine, if you are out killing people and they catch you, they might not let you post bond. But if they think you're a flight risk, they might not let you post bond. If they think you've got a lot to lose, they might make you post $1 million bond or $500,000 or something. But here they said, okay, they're going to release him on bond. And then apparently, as part of the conditions for his bond, they said, we're going to let you out, but you cannot continue doing what you were doing. So he made more posts. And now the only one I've found, and I found this in several different news articles, and I'm going to read it to you verbatim, just so there's no debate on this. And this is the quote: "Dada back to digging. And you best believe I'm going to dig up all the skeletons in this court's closet." End quote. Dada back to digging. And you best believe I'm going to dig up all the skeletons in this court's closet. So, a judge has now ruled that he violated his bond conditions because apparently he was told to stop using social media in the meantime. I'm assuming that that's it, because suggesting that you're going to dig up the skeletons in the court's closet, I can say that right now with impunity. I'm going to dig up all the skeletons in Macomb County's closet. I'm going to dig up all the skeletons in Oakland County's closet. I'm going to dig up all the skeletons in Wayne County court closet. There's nothing actionable about that. I'm not breaking any laws by saying that. It's obviously figurative speech, meaning I'm going to investigate and search for things you don't want me to know. And by the way, if you're a judge or a court administrator or somebody who works in a court, like a friend of the court or a referee, you are in the public eye. Much of those are elected positions, meaning that your dirt and your closets are fair game. So the idea that a man says, I'm going to dig and find out what's in your closet, that's not a threat. It's a statement that he's saying, I'm going to do something perfectly lawful. I'm allowed to do that. So a judge ruled he violated his bond conditions, which may be true. But the question is, are those bond conditions legal? Because a bond condition can say things like, don't contact somebody you're accused of hacking, for instance. Or you're accused of stealing from this particular store. Don't go in that store until we tell you can. And things like that make sense. But to simply say, oh, by the way, in the meantime, you can't exercise your right of free speech. That doesn't make any sense. And it's unconstitutional. So a judge ruled he violated his bond conditions, and now he is in jail on a $500,000 bond. And they said, we're not going to let you out unless you post $500,000. And of course, his mother says she feels he simply was exercising his right to free speech. And, I got to give credit where credit is due. Most people have got no clue about the Constitution, very little clue about the Bill of Rights, but they kind of understand the right to free speech. Everyone knows you can say stuff, and there's a line. You can't say everything, but there's a line, and you can say stuff. And then, there's the various exceptions and so on, but you can't yell fire in a crowded theater if there's no fire. And I can't slander you and say, well, it's free speech. And things of that nature. But generally speaking, I'm allowed to speak, okay? And the idea that I can speak against the people in power, politicians, absolutely. Political speech is one of the most protected forms of speech in our country. The idea that I can criticize my leaders is absolutely carved in stone. If you went back and spoke to the people who drafted any of our important documents and said, by the way, what's the one right you think every single person in this fledgling country should have? They'd say, among other things, you have the right to criticize the people in power, because it's something we didn't have back where we came from. And so when we got here, we said, something? We're going to guarantee that right to everybody. And it's going to be good for us because the press can dig, people can dig, muckrakers can dig. Remember them? That's what keeps you honest, okay? So the idea that he can be critical of the people in power, absolutely. Deborah Vanderhagen, again, the man's mother and the grandmother of the child who passed away, he just wants justice. He don't want to kill anybody. He don't want anybody physically hurt. He wants them to acknowledge what they've done and get justice. A trial is now scheduled for September 13th. September 13th. So we'll see what happens on this case. But again, for those of you who are following along at home or in court, in case you need a refresher on this, I'm allowed to speak. I can be critical of the government. Absolute protected speech. I can also be insulting. Okay? So if I wanted to, I could say there's a judge or a politician or a police officer or anybody, and I can say they're an idiot. Okay? That's an insult. Now, it might not be the nicest thing to do, and we've been told, that we shouldn't be just insulting for the sake of being insulting. It's not polite, right? Our society works better if we're nice to one another. But it's still protected speech. I can call somebody a nincompoop, a numbskull, an idiot, okay? So if you want to, and you want to criticize the judge, hey, judge, you're a moron. If you want to, go right ahead. That's your right. Now, you have to be careful because people often step over this line. You can't threaten somebody because threatening them might rise to the level of a crime, depending on what kind of threat it is. So if I say, hey, you're an idiot, okay? It's not a threat, it's an insult. But if I say, hey, you're an idiot, I'm going to punch you in the face. And you're right here, and you see my fist, and you feel that that's an actual threat linked with the possibility I might do something, that might rise to the level of a problem. And so what happens, unfortunately, is people get on the internet. Trust me, I know. People get on the internet, and because the internet doesn't refuse anything you type into it, people forget there's a line. And so they go from, hey, you're going bald, you've got a toupee, and they very, very swiftly go into, you're a moron, you're a dummy, and then they go to, I'm going to find out where you live and kill you. And the first one, it happens. The second one, what am I going to do? The third one, it's actually a problem, okay? So, and I understand that having raised this topic now, there's going to be a whole plethora of comments below where people are going to be threatening me and joking, saying, I'm trying to be funny here. Just so you know, in case you're curious and you say, Steve, I've read a lot of comments in your videos, and I've seen the ones about your toupee. I've seen the ones about your opioid addiction. I've seen the one about your rotten teeth. I've seen the one about your bad breath. I've seen the one about your hunchback, your scoliosis. What else have I been diagnosed with? A whole variety of things. But people are going to say, but Steve, I've never seen the threats. Are you sure there really are threats? Yes, I delete them. So, yes, I delete them. And I laugh now because they're gone, but they pop up. So I'm just letting you know, don't bother. It won't be funny, and I'll simply delete it. So the joke will be between you and me for a split second before I delete it. But the point is that in this day and age, people often do cross that line. So again, I've not seen all of the posts made by this man. But from what I've read in the papers and what I've read so far, and by papers I mean the internet, what I've read in the news is that he said, I'm going to dig into your past and find out what I can about you and expose you. I'm going to expose you. That is a threat of something, but it's not a threat of any physical nature. I'm going to expose you, might be threatening to unveil something about you or reveal something about you, but there's nothing illegal about that. Okay, he's not saying he's going to blackmail them. He's saying, I'm going to find out about you and I'm going to publicize it. And by the way, getting back to my original point on this, that's political speech. The idea that I'm going to look at somebody in a position of elected authority and examine them to see if, in fact, we know everything we need to know about them, that is something that any good American should be doing, and any good American should be protected doing. So sadly, I doubt this man can raise $500,000 to get out on bond. That's unfortunate. But he shouldn't be in jail on this issue in the first place. So did he violate his bond condition? Possibly, but the bond condition sounds wrong. And why he was charged in the first place for saying, I'm going to dig into your closet and expose your skeletons is absurd. It's absolutely, utterly absurd. So again, the headline, Grieving Dad Jailed for Repeatedly Criticizing the Court System in Macomb County. Guess what? Now everyone's criticizing the court system in Macomb County, and rightfully so. So there you have it. Questions or comments, but no threats, please. Put them below. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.